Let's get into it. So today I wanted to talk about shifting business culture. So the thing is, I put out a little poll about what are the topics people are most interested in, and this is the one that got voted in as the most popular. It was voted in especially on my LinkedIn channel, and people really want to know about how do we shift business culture, and it makes sense that people want to know about that because it's quite a complex issue. Culture is so complicated and embedded, and it's not just what the business sort of tries to impart on their employees. It's all about each individual as well, and how they think about life and how their values come through in the action that they take. And so kind of traditionally, organizational culture, and people who have learned about it in that space might be able to corroborate, but traditionally it's been seen as something that's quite tangible and objective, and it's a manageable variable, okay, which it's really not. We understand now it's a process, it's very dynamic, and it's always changing because it's defined by people's interactions with each other. And so it can come from so many different people in so many different places, and their experiences in life that define how they act in a situation. So yeah, organizational culture is super complex. And so for me, it's really important that we understand how we can start shifting that organizational culture to embody sustainable thinking, because it's great to do, certain takes a certain sustainable action, like set a roadmap towards net zero and start working towards that, put in renewables, all of that great stuff. That's wonderful. But if the people are not on board or driving that message through in every area of the business, then it's not a holistic or a cultural shift. It's just kind of a tick a box type action, and that's not what we want to do. We want true sustainable change, and for true sustainable change, we need to shift people's mindsets. And so typically how we understand culture and people's belief systems is there's the underlying assumptions, the things that we kind of take for granted. It's kind of the things that subtly affect the way we view people or view situations. And then you've got kind of the middle tier, which is a little bit more real, a little bit more tangible. We talk about it a bit more. It's our values and our belief systems, ideologies. How do we rationalize situations? And then at the very top of it, it's the physical form of our belief systems. So, the policies in terms of business, the policies and the governance structures that we have in place. And they're the things that are quite physical. So the artifacts is how it's referred to. And so there's kind of three levels to it. So it is, obviously going up a business, but it's also within those three levels, there's so many parts to it and so many interacting relationships. And I think the pandemic is actually an amazing opportunity for us to change businesses' organizational structure, culture, and how we view sustainability in this case, because it's given us an opportunity to really see what are people doing when they're not at work. They're not, because that's what's going to happen. The new future is a lot of people working from home and working in very agile structures. And so the business culture is going to be kind of held on by a very invisible thread, because what people are doing when they're not in the business workplace and how they're presenting themselves in their meetings, how they're acting on the business's behalf during work hours, but they're at home, is going to really affect organizational culture. I keep going to say the word structure, but it's going to really affect organizational culture. So this is where it becomes really important. So when I sort of started thinking about this, it was probably about 6 months back, and I created a kind of a quick guide on what I think is really important for us to think about in terms of what the issues are in organizations that we need to be aware of. And so there's three in particular that I want to talk about. And then there's three in particular suggestions that I have that I'd like, to kind of talk about that people can consider in their business and start to implement. I just wanted to say a shout out to my mum and dad for joining, and Marie, thank you so much. Glad to have you guys along. So as I said, so this quick guide, by the way, I'll link it I'll link it in a comment. It's available for anybody who'd like to download it. But I just wanted to talk about it here. So the first issue is mindset. So mindset is probably one of the biggest things. Is, it's very normal to think about a situation from a me perspective. So a really big issue that I see in terms of barrier towards a more open-minded organizational culture that's aware and active in the sustainability space is shifting that me mindset towards a we mindset. That how do we start to connect with other people's feelings and take every moment from a more holistic perspective. So I think that's a mindset shift is probably one of the biggest issues that we're facing. The second thing is trust. So there are a few things in the trust space, and the one is the source of this trust or distrust that we feel. What's really causing us to feel this distrust? And then two, it's, what does that distrust in a situation? So let me be a bit more clear about distrust. Your business might say, look, in order for us to reach our net zero goals, we need to put in this 200 kilowatt system of solar. And you might not really trust that particular action. You might not think that's the best way for the business to act. And so that's probably like an issue that the business really needs to navigate with its employees. And so that's where this issue around trust and us understanding why we're distrusting a particular situation is really important. And whether it's justified or a misplaced source of distrust that we're feeling. And probably the third thing, and something that most people would feel is an important issue to be considerate of in their business, is poor communication. When the business is talking about this strategy and all the great things that they hope to do, and they're not really bringing the whole business along on that journey, they're not involving their employees at all levels, because it's not just up to management. Management understand management, but the people who are working at different levels, not just at different levels, but in different departments, they're the ones that understand kind of at the front end. They're the ones who are in the field that really understand what it is that their clients are facing, what it is that their colleagues are facing as issues, and that needs to be communicated up into the strategy. And that's why it's so important to bring everybody along on this journey in terms of sustainability. So poor communication is definitely probably the third issue that I've recognized as one of the biggest issues in terms of holding an organization back. And so it's really important to start recognizing where we're poorly communicating and start to be open, more open towards how we can speak less essentially and listen more. And so some of these issues can really be overcome with some really great and actually really fun suggestions. So one of the things I was thinking is a business date night. So, why not celebrate periodically achievements and failures? Because I think that failures allow us room for change and learning. So it's really important to periodically, you have your team meetings, go through what were the achievements and the failures, and make light of it, make fun of it, not of the person, but make fun of the situation and bring it up to the surface, because it's an opportunity for learning. And I've failed in different things, in different spaces in my business, but I don't see that as a bad thing. I see that as a wonderful thing, because failing has allowed me to close a certain door and open a new one, or learn a particular thing and then step up in another way. So yeah, business date night, fun thing to do, and do it periodically. Probably something to do in your team meeting. The other thing is spice things up. So one of the things that, so one of the ways that I think that we can start to spice things up in the way that we do things in business is to say yes to new ideas a lot more. And this can be really scary for management, because everybody's got an idea and everybody thinks their idea is the best. And that's not to say that all the ideas are going to be great, but it's really important to start saying yes a bit more to our employees, especially as managers or as leaders in a business, to start saying no, sorry, start saying yes, not no, because it lets the owner of the idea to take that concept into victory. And as I said, if they fail, it's okay. It's an opportunity to learn. But every now and then, and probably more regularly than we're doing now, is to say yes. Give somebody an open mic opportunity to then share that success and talk about how they managed to achieve that success, and really truly appreciate that effort. And finally, I think it's to be adventurous. So that's another way to spice things up. Do things that are scary and away from business as usual. So the thing that I often hear from businesses is, time, resources, it's going to affect business as usual if we start to think about sustainability. So it's not a priority right now. But the thing is, that is where the being risky and taking some adventurous steps in your business that, in their case, it seems adventurous because they think that it's going to affect business as usual, for example. That's the time when we're going to really see the most positive impact in our business, is when we start to be a bit more adventurous and we start to open ourselves up to these new ideas. So yeah, I really think that spicing things up in your business is super important. And that's really about also being inclusive, with allowing your employees to take their ideas to fruition, because they're the ones who, as I said, are, at the front end. They're the ones who really understand the business needs, and they're the ones who really understand their clientele needs and what they can do to really innovate in their space. And finally, well, I already said the word, but it does lead to this, is I came across this idea in a book, so it's not mine, and I really wish it was, is to destroy and innovate. And that's really about destroying the old way of doing things and start to innovate. And it sort of ties in with, the spice things up piece. But there's 3 points in particular. So one is to fail forward fast. Excellent failures will far outweigh any mediocre success that we have in our business. And so failing quickly is a great way to learn, and learn quickly as well. And that's not to say fail in a big way that will have, huge detriment to the business, but failing in a way that the business can learn quickly and try something else. And so, yes, shout out to anybody else who's joined recently. I think I see Marion on there. Hi, Marion. How's it going? And yeah, so another way to, that always distracts me when I say hi to people. But another way to destroy and innovate is let those rogue employees, I was one of them, so I'm all for this one. Let those rogue employees that are hungry for leveling up take the reins a little bit, let them run with their ideas. And finally, how do we destroy and innovate is ignore the uncertainty and start to embrace change. Because the truth is that if your business is not embracing change, this is the scariest thing of all. And and I just want to build up this moment, but the truth is that if you're not embracing change, you will actually face the reality of becoming irrelevant. Because in this new economy, innovation is rampant, and if you're not in there, and especially if you're in Australia, I think, I know in Melbourne, I can speak from kind of personal experience, there are so many grassroots movements and so many startups that are just doing incredible things. I've come across incredible people in the time that I've not even just started business. Actually, in the last 5 years, I've come across incredible people who are embracing change and really innovating in their space. So, big businesses who think they're really secure in their position, actually, no, they're not, because we've got these small guys like just doing incredible things and staying relevant in a very dynamic and very quickly changing environment. So, yeah, finally, I want to leave you with that one, is to destroy and innovate. I think it's super important that we start to do that. And yeah, quick hello to my mother-in-law and my sister. Thanks for joining. Yeah, thanks, Marie. I'm glad you like the advice. I think that, this is something that each of us can do in our own business. It's something I know I tried to do, you know, in the last business that I worked in, and I never really stopped. It's kind of an uphill battle, but a really fun one. And so yeah, get on there, get onto the hill, start pushing upwards, because once you get to the top, it's extremely worth it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you've enjoyed the information I've had to share. As I said, I've got this document freely available to anyone who'd like it. I will drop in the link for you to get access to it. And yeah, I hope you have an amazing evening, day, week, everything. And if you're in Melbourne and you know, the storm is about to come, stay safe, and I will catch you next week for episode 4 of FemGineer Chats. Bye.